Hello and welcome to the Why You So Ears podcast. I'm James,
And I'm Ella.
and today we are going to be talking about some albums from past and from new. The whole idea behind
Mhm.
this podcast is well, it's something I stole from the movie podcast Sardonicast. Basically, the whole idea is that each week we're going to listen to four different albums. Two are newer albums that have just released, and two of them are older albums from music's past. So yeah, just to get started, let's go ahead and talk about the albums that we've recommended for each other this week.
Okay. So what I gave you actually is the Andalucia, which is from Filipino band for Spades, as for the newer release because they just released around like a week or two ago. And for the older release, I gave you shoot, what did I give you again?
Phil Oaks, I ain't marching anymore.
Right. I gave you Phil Oaks as I ain't marching anymore. Okay.
All
I'm
right.
glad that I gave you actually. Okay, good.
And as for my newer album, I recommended you the new album from Danny Brown's Stardust, and from the
Mm,
older album, I gave you the old album from Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe called Lo Mato.
mm-hmm.
All right,
You
so which one did we want to start with
I sent
first?
you a Filipino recommendation. You fought back with something Spanish. I'm sorry.
I mean,
Thank you
I,
for that.
I'm I mean, I love music from, all different sorts of languages, even if
Hey, yeah,
I mean, even if it means I have to do some sort of translating sometimes, but I feel like I have to do
yeah,
that with like, I have to look up the lyrics for most albums anyways, because I'm not great at hearing them first time, like on my first listen that well.
I kind of just do like when I like listen to the album, I kind of just did like a mix of both, checking out the lyrics and then checking out the music itself. It's fine. I'll get
Yeah,
into it when I get into it.
yeah. All right, so
So
which one
go
did we
start.
um So yeah, let's start out with Andalucia. If you want to give some context on the band and everything.
Okay. Actually, okay. So I tried as much as I can with like what I because like while they are the biggest band in the Philippines right now, that's kind of like modern. This is also like the biggest event for like an album to have come out as well. I don't exactly know the specifics too much because I don't exactly follow a lot of Filipino entertainment, but um, Four of Spades were a band that started in 2016, and they started out as a four-piece, but kind of whittled down to a three-piece once their first album had came out, Clap Clap Clap, in 2018. By that point, the band slowly dwindled and kind of dissolved at like around the pandemic years, around 2020. They were successful during 2016 to 2018, actually, with songs like Hey Barbara, Come Inside of My Heart. Uh, I believe what was it, Mundo, as well, because like well, they were really like good. They were like a really good band. They were very retrofitted for like trying to sound like nostalgic with the 70s glam pop and like trying to emulate their music, the things that they like about their music tastes, whether it be from Britpop, from disco, from funk. from Beatlesy type music that I hear from their music. And then by around 2020, they split up, and then each individual member had their own thing going on. Most notably, Zild has a big whole discography that someday I'll probably get to introduce to you some other day. But like, yeah. So now they make a return this year, dropped a single out of nowhere, which is part of the album Aura. Um, but yeah, they just drop a surprise single. Everyone who were fans of Four of Spades, which is like a big chunk of the Philippine population, freaked the fuck out when they surprise dropped that the band was getting back together, and they also just dropped an announcement of an album, and then that's the album that you've listened to, Andalucia. So Andalucia is, in a way, their comeback album, their return to form. Not sure if I would say return to form, but it's their return. It's their home album, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, what last night, I started to listen to the album on YouTube for my re-listen, and like legit, I got like a bunch of like YouTube shorts recommended to me of literally just like people like like reacting to the announcement, like people like going like full conspiracy mode into like Instagram stories and everything, being like, "Oh my God, do they have a new album coming?" Like from months and months ago. So it's kind of crazy to see
No,
like just how much hype they had built up until this point.
well, yeah, like yeah, everyone fucking loves them. I think most of that also popularity. I mean, that's been big since 2018, but more of the more of the fans of Four of Spades has also just been carried by whatever Sild's doing, because Sild has been carrying on to have this sort of like importance of like the album, which not a lot of Philippine artists have done, because most, if not a lot of the Philippine music right now, while popular in streaming sometimes, but like a lot of the things that they do is like singles heavy. And a lot of what Four of Spades and their members have done is just make the art of the album important. That's what really matters for people who listen to Four of Spades, and that's what kind of just gives them the appeal. Actually, like, yeah, just, and that's why it just feels absolutely fun and exciting to like have this sort of like hype around like a band for like a new album or like for a new song that's coming out. You just genuinely like really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am, just like seeing all this hype now, makes me wish I was, aware of them and more tapped into them from the beginning. Because I mean, it's always cool to see like people rally around this new release just like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's just the bigger context of the album. So what do you think about the songs?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, diving into the songs. The actual songs themselves. I mean, this album, it's very much, to me at least. I feel like it's a bit of a, there's some indie rock going on. There's like also a bit of funk going on a couple of songs too. I had a friend who actually took me to this show for a band called High Fade, who are like a British sort of like newer funk band combining like lots of indie rock with some funk as well. And I mean that this
Yeah,
sort of like brought me back to them. But I mean, of course, it's not just just funk. There's also like some more slower songs, some more like ballady type things, but also there's some really fun tracks here with some awesome percussion and some really cool rhythm sections as well. Like, I mean, just the amount of hooks on this thing really completely, you know, really took
No,
me
yeah,
by
I totally
surprise.
agree.
Just how natural the hooks came for this band. Like, it just really felt super natural and like very effortless, I should say, very effortless.
Um, but yeah, definitely, I could definitely tell what you mean by when um, horror spades make music like pretty effortlessly. I'm glad that you actually. I'm glad that that still kind of just translates to like someone like you who's like an international audience because like for us, um, no, yeah, I think it's just like the same sort of idea. We're just very hyped for a lot of the music that comes out, and like yeah, sounds absolutely like them. They feel effortlessly them, despite for
Mhm.
like about, despite for like when they were exhausted from around 2018. A lot of their music still just feels so shiny, homely, and warm, and just um, full of like hooks that just feel like they've stuck onto your head for like a while. They definitely have stuck onto my head for like a long, long time as well. Like I've constantly listened to this album front to back now, actually. And like you have songs like what fucking Monster, which is like an amazing funk jam. Um, there's like there's songs like Tara and Paro Paro, which are amazing with guitar tones and like I know riffs. There's more on like stuff about like guitars in here that I could talk about with on how they did their guitar tones and shit. That's just really absolutely beautiful. They almost verge on dream pop even, especially on like Tangerine Boulevard, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like there's definitely some tracks that feel a bit more like, there's the jam tracks like we've mentioned with like Monster and anything, but there are some also more like atmospheric tracks. And I mean, yeah, those songs absolutely, carry their weight just as much as the more energetic tracks do um because just the instrumentals are so good and the atmospheres are pretty incredible the what they're able to do. Just again making it seem effortless, making it look effortless when in reality it's like there's a lot of more inner working going on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's not exactly like a lot of things for me to say about like Andalucia in terms of that. Whenever I like try to like talk about albums as well, I try to like think of like the overarching theme of like what's so important about within this, and it's kind of just it's whatever. As I said about like this being kind of like their home album, they named this album after their apartment and all that. Um, I remember, and a lot of like a bunch of the songs are just kind of just the typical things that I've pretty much heard from Four of Spades before. Just poetic observation stuff that they go around with their life. It's very it's an album that's just fully day in the life, and like there's not a lot of things that you could say much about it, but that's what I just really love about Four of Spades, and like it's just kind of been the appeal, honestly. um
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I mean, just I feel like that's a appeal of like a lot of modern indie rock. Hence the rise of things like bedroom pop and everything. And this isn't necessarily like bedroom pop, but it's still like um, there's still like
Has the
this
vibe,
sort of
dude.
yeah, there's still sort of this sense of like just that it's like you're really hearing sort of their more original, like the sound they came up with naturally, and like it's not like they're necessarily like chasing a scene or anything. It's more so just
Mm.
um this is just some friends making the music they want to make, and really making the writing the songs they want to write, and like looking into to
Mm.
some of the lyrics, some of these there's a couple songs that are in English, but I believe for the majority the lyrics are in Filipino.
Mm.
um
Yep.
and
Filipino.
yeah, and like you know they're they're not like these big uh super conceptual songs, at least that's how they come across to me, but there's still like that sort of like there's some good love songs, there's some good songs about just like the feelings that the band felt during their break, and like the sort of loneliness and longing that can come with being a band that's has all this hype, but it's just like the spark wasn't there anymore, and coming back to it, and finding that spark again.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's. I believe. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, I
No
think
idea
it's
how
a
else. No, no idea how else I could include something like this. Then, just yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I really wish like more of the stuff from them, and like I can't wait to see what they have going on next. And they've always been doing so well with with their fronts, trying to like doing a retro style, being their favorite musicians. You know, hope for the next.
um yeah, on first listen, I wasn't like completely you know, I wasn't completely enamored with every track, just because like I was I that vibe of like just the homeliness hadn't stuck with it for me. So but I still definitely saw the musicianship. I gave it a 7 out of 10 originally, but after this re-listen, I think I'm bumping it up to an 8 out of 10.
Hell yeah! I'm glad that you bumped it up. Hell yeah! I'm glad. I'm.
And
I think I gave it an eight when I think I gave it an eight before. Yeah,
yeah, I think I saw that on your rate your music.
I'm very sure. I haven't checked my radio music in a while, but yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Stardust by Danny Brown. Tell me the context, boy.
All right. Uh, yeah. So this is Stardust from Danny Brown. So for the few of you who may not know about Danny Brown already, Danny Brown's a rapper from Detroit. He broke through in the early 2010s with his mixtape Triple X or 30, which was kind of like a party album. About just like going out and having a grand old time, doing all the drugs you can think of, drinking all the drinks you can think of, um and
Just the, just the normal happy-go-lucky.
yeah. And so that got him a lot of acclaim, especially for his unique vocal delivery. Every person who listens to Danny Brown knows some people get filtered out really easily by his vocal delivery, and other people like myself absolutely love it. Um, and so from there, he started getting more and more hype in like experimental and underground hip hop music. He and that hype really sort of peaked with 2016's Atrocity exhibition, which was sort of like his album saying like, yeah, I'm still on drugs and drinking, but now it's like kind of destroyed my life, and like it came from a pretty dark place for him. And but it's still like exploring all these things. And his relationship with sobriety has definitely been something that's come up with his music now and again. And yeah, I mean, through after that, he released "You Know What I'm Saying" in 2019, and then he got even more hype in 2023 with his collab album with JPEG Mafia, "Scaring the Hose," which was just a very fun album with lots of clever, like terminally online sort of lyrics, and like some really great production from JPEG Mafia. And then, followed that up with Quaranto, which was his sequel to 30, which was, him, reflecting on the fact that he was sober now. I remember when him and JPEG Mafia were on the tour for Scaring the Hose, he announced that, like, yeah, I had to go into rehab for a bit. I'm fully sober now, and I believe he's remained sober for 2 years. And anyways, in the lead up to this album, he was on his own show, the Danny Brown Show. He was like talking a lot about these underground like hyper pop producers he was loving. Be that Jane Remover, be that Underscores, be that Fentanyl, just like all these underground producers that he was loving, and like had them open for a couple of his shows. And so eventually that led to him just fully embracing the hyper pop genre, and releasing this album that's basically just sort of like an all-star list of modern hyper pop scene producers, all doing like beats and everything for him, as well as just continuing to talk about his sobriety, and like how far he's come since the days of like an atrocity exhibition.
Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stardust by Danny Brown album, otherwise known as Brat for Men. Um, my
Yeah,
bad.
it very much gives that same vibe. I mean, Charlie was, while they're not as like, at the forefront of this album, I mean, the producers on Brett were still like, kind of like an all-star list of the more commercially successful,
PC
hyper
Music.
props. Yeah, PC Music's producers. I mean, you have AG Cook,
Yeah.
you have
Meanwhile,
George Daniel, and
yeah.
yeah, and Hudson
And
Mohawk
then
as
meanwhile
well.
we got Danny Brown with the indie music, with the indie hyper pop crowd, which is great.
Y-
That's honestly great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a whole list of all the production credits on here. So you've got Quadeca, Frost Children, um,
Hmm. I
uh,
can,
under
yeah.
uh, underscores, John Askis, 8485, Isbroki, Fentanyl, Nandi, Ta Ukrenka, and Johnny, and Jane Remover.
Not a lot for me to say my thoughts on like Stardust. Oh my gosh, I keep saying Starburst. That's one of the singles. I'm not saying that like Stardust is. I'm not saying like Stardust is nothing to be heard. Honestly, I really didn't expect to just completely enjoy this album when I first listened to it, because like I don't know, you'd be surprised to hear this from me actually. I don't think I've thought Danny Brown's music was to be top tier excellent,
Mhm.
except for like, except for when I listened to it. I thought, I think I thought both like, I the only Danny Brown albums that I've listened to were like Atrocity Exhibition and uh Atrocity Exhibition and Quaranta.
Yeah.
um Quadeca, for fuck's sake. Um
His, he created Quadeca as Danny Brown's son.
Quadeca, the album by Danny Brown. But
Hmm.
Quadeca is in the album at least. I know that. And by the way, Book of Daniel was good. Probably best opener I've ever heard. Um, Yeah, like I didn't exactly vibe well a lot with Coranta that much. It was just kind of felt like a, I don't know if I want to say a flop, but it's more like a feather fall in a way.
Hmm.
It's still a fall, but you're just kind of landing softly about it. And Atrocity Exhibition, I liked a few songs out of there. Definitely the opener I remembered liking, and like what was it? Ain't It Funny?
Hmm.
And yeah, that's about as much as I could say. And there's a lot that I could say with like Stardust and how much I liked about it. And most especially with the fact that it incorporates fucking hyperpop and EDM. So, and I'm kind of just thinking about this with like a bunch of the best of the stuff that I've listened to from this year. A lot of it seemed to have gotten onto the electronic to hyperpop genre as well. Yeah. Someday
Yeah.
I will probably post, someday I'll probably post my best of the year list, but the ones that I have higher are the ones in the electronic genre. I can just say that out loud.
Yeah, no,
So,
it
and I
has.
feel like this is kind of up there to me as well.
Yeah, it certainly has been like a great year for electronic music, especially, those who have been,
The next drought.
studious in the hyperpop, sort of scene, the experimental electronic type of scene. Um, and like with, so much of this, I mean, like that Nina Geraci album that dropped this year is a big favorite of mine, and that definitely takes some cues from the hyper pop scene as well. I mean, and of course, Quadeca, who's a producer on this album, dropped my favorite album of the year, being Vanisher, and that album's stuck with me for quite a while. So yeah.
Vanisher. Vanisher was quite great, and like yeah,
Mm.
it definitely like translated over to this album. In fact, I
Mhm.
think I kind of thought that a lot of Danny Brown's contribution, a lot of Danny Brown's and their contributors. I think what the contributors brought to the table are the stuff that they've been trying to make in their music, and then it's on Danny Brown's album, and somehow it doesn't sound too non-cohesive. Of course, Book of Daniel feels a little bit like um a stick out, but for at the same time it doesn't feel like it sticks out too much anyways with the entire um sound of the entire frenetic sound that the whole that Stardust has been like trying to keep up with, because like it's entirely like electronic. It's constantly punching your eardrums with a bunch of like bass and attacking synths, and like shit, it's genuinely like awesome. I If there's like any separate moments I could like probably name, Copycats is like really fun. I remember really liking the Frost Children and the Isbroki.
Mhm. Oh
I
yeah, no.
obviously I've obviously been loving I Love My Life with Fentanyl, and
Mhm.
surprise you'd be surprised actually that I've been listening to like a lot of more Fentanyl around this time right now. Maybe it's
Ooh.
because there's something wrong with me, but
I mean, fentanyl, I kind of put Fentanyl and like Machine Girl into that same sort of like, just like super fast, aggressive, just like, you need a thousand different sounds hitting you all at once, and it's overstimulating in like the best way possible.
yeah, absolutely. And like yeah, shit, now I need to listen to Machine Girl now. I haven't listened to their albums. But yeah. Um with Fentanyl is like really great. Um it was definitely like a turn. I would also say like listening to the end, that three-parter opus that Danny Brown has put upon us. w-
Yeah.
One half, one third of it being entirely Ukrainian and Polish is crazy, and you haven't even mentioned their name, and I'm gonna mention their name because I feel like there was something going on. Sony is an amazing did fucking amazingly on that second or that third, and like just I fucking love that type of wall of sound type stuff with electronic. They did so damn great.
Yeah, no,
Also, the Jane Remover was kind of short as well, but still like a delight. And it just kind of reminds me of like the recent Jane Remover album that came out.
yeah. There's, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you said, it does like, it does kind of feel like we're getting like a lot of these producers and like their latest projects. We've got like Revenge Seekers, Jane Remover, we've got, Vanisher, Quadeca, we've got, what's Wall Socket era underscores a little bit too, like,
Mm.
just a lot of that stuff. I I was gonna say this all
And
like this may sound like a weird comparison, but it almost kind of reminds me of like a Ringo Starr album, and the fact that like it's like Ringo Starr, when he made his albums, it was like a lot of contributions from the people he knew. You'd have like former Beatles working on his projects. You'd have like Eric Clapton there. I'm trying to
guitars
remember
from the
all the
Eagles.
yeah, just like all these classic rock legends that were just helping him out, giving him a few songs to sing, and especially in the '70s that worked like really well commercially and critically for him. And so like this almost feels like a similar thing, although I'm sure Danny Brown put a bit more into the actual song structure than Ringo did on his average album. Um, but still, it's like
I'm sure.
just there's still
I'm
like
sure
that sort
Danny
of energy.
Brown.
And there's still that energy of just like the just like getting all these people to help out because of their admiration for him. I mean, of course, the type of production Danny's been on for over a decade and a half now has very much influenced these producers, and so it's like them almost sort of giving back to him in a way, like being like, well, you influenced us so much. Here's how our music's going to influence you from now on.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. That's about as much as I could say about like my thoughts. I technically there is like a Danny Brown album I liked. It's Scaring the Hose. I forgot that that was an album. Shoot. Yeah, I kind of mostly thought of it as a JPEG Mafia project. Whoops.
that's funny
But
because I
yeah,
even
that's my
mentioned it in
little.
the intro section. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
definitely is.
I know. I'm not in my league, but yeah, Scaring the Hose was like I don't want to get around it, but I do want to say that it was like one of my favorite albums that year. Um, yeah. Yeah, that's about as much as I could say about my thoughts on Stardust. What
Yeah,
did I give it again? I might have remembered that I gave it like an 8 out of 10 because solidly it was just like genuinely really solid, and I really liked everything that was coming out of there. I don't. I feel like it could climb higher, definitely, with more
yeah,
listens.
yeah. I mean, re-listening to it more and more times, like it definitely there's a lot of tracks that are growing on me. And yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well. It's not my favorite Danny Brown album. I still think, I mean, there's definitely been more like, lyrically, focused stuff he's been on. The fact we've mainly been focusing on the producers and less about the lyrics kind of speaks to that a little bit. Which, not to say that there's like any really like there's bad lyricism on this from Danny. There's not enough, and there's a couple of great songs about Danny's sobriety and the people who helped him along in his journey to becoming fully sober and off the drugs and everything. And also there's a couple of really funny kind of love songs, like on 1999 he has the line "My bitch thick like Mewtwo," which I unfortunately that's a bit of a bar for me. um uh but yeah, I mean, still a great album. Still, I think all the producers on here put in their best work. Yeah, definitely an 8 out of 10 for me.
Any more I could say about my final thoughts on Danny Brown right now is that um, I just kind of find it funny that the two things that we picked on for new music is a four-piece Filipino band and a quarter Filipino rapper. Anyways,
Philippines represent.
Filipino mentioned. Okay, so let's check out the older albums. Okay, so I gave you Phil Ochs's I Ain't Marching Anymore.
Hmm.
I don't know if I can give you much of the context because surprisingly I actually just kind of know very little about Phil Ochs, but I could still try.
Yeah, I did some research too, so I can try and help you out if there's any gaps you need to be filled in. But
It's fine. I can always have a little bit of assistance with Wikipedia if I ever fucked up something. But I just yeah, I gave you Phil Ochs, and I don't know if I wanted to give the context of what about the history of this album or how I just came across this album, honestly, because like I just kind of have like a bit of a. It's not too personal of the history. Um, just some friend from Tumblr that gave me this album as a recommendation, and I just kind of like really fell in love with it. The whole type of sound, the songwriting, and yeah, I definitely just wanted to give this to you because like I don't know, it's something that I just kind of reminded that it was kind of old and it wasn't in your list of albums that you have listened to, and
yeah,
you've also like to a bunch of like classic 60s and 70s stuff as well. Uh, this one's kind of like out of reach from those types of parts, surprisingly, despite being like one of the Greenwich Village folk music sceners there. Not a lot
yeah,
of popular names. The only ones you'd get is like Bob Dylan, but you'd have. But hey, you've enjoyed like individual Beatles albums before. I'll give you
yeah.
this one just a bit more diverse taste, you know.
Hmm.
And in terms of history, yeah, as I just said, Phil Ochs is in the Greenwich Village folk scene. Most of the stuff that he does is like campfire songs and like news songs, songs of observation, all that sort of stuff. And I Ain't Marching Anymore is like one of the albums that he's and is one of the albums that he was much popular for, if I at least remember.
Yeah, I remember reading on Wikipedia that like his first three albums were like kept getting more popular, and his third album was a live album. So this is probably like his most well-known studio album at the very least.
Mm. Okay. So what's your thought?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, this very much sounds like the Greenwich Village folk scene. Like this is, there there's very much like a Bob Dylan energy, and you look at who Phil Oakes's heroes were, it's Pete Seeger, it's Woody Guthrie, like all the people that like Bob Dylan you know loved and adored growing
Also,
up. Also, yeah, we're definitely there for Phil Oakes. um and yeah, you can definitely tell that it's something he he grew up with. And like there's sort of there's sort of this sort of vibe where funnily enough, Phil Oakes actually did have a funny encounter with Bob Dylan that led to the two having a feud. Specifically
huh?
when when Oakes didn't like Bob Dylan's new single. He threw him out of the taxi cab they were both in, and he said that Oakes was a journalist, not a musician, which is
Damn.
a bit of an unfaithful interpretation. But like I mean, his first album's also called like uh all the news that's fit to sing. So it's like there's almost like a sort of journalistic aspect to this music, more so than maybe a Bob Dylan album, which is a bit more like focused on Bob's poetry and everything. Um, but I still think there's like this sort of this sense of like you're really getting a look into the times. um, the way a lot of people were doing around this time, where Bob was, starting to go like electric, and starting to make these albums that all the Newport folk people hated, but like that the popular consensus would come to love. Phil Oakes was out here still continuing to really hone his craft, and make some great anthems about of course the Vietnam War is obviously going to be the big one, but also just like racism in the South, and you know uh, just also like I mean there's a track on here that was the president that was that's mourning the shooting of JFK, and like and also just like there's also a bit of a socialist background to it too. I mean, there's like links on the chain is all about getting trying to build solidarity among workers in a union, and like the things that drive workers apart, whether that be refusing to integrate, or just like forgetting what you stand for and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, like you said, um, yeah. Um, I definitely liked a lot more with like I Ain't Marching Anymore in terms of like songwriting, and
Mhm.
I get what Bob Dylan meant in the way that he said Phil Ochs is kind of like a journalist more than a musician.
Mhm.
The writing is definitely just more sharper, definitely. Again, like I Ain't Marching Anymore is like an entire fucking history lesson in the heat of the summer. In the heat of the summer talks about like more stuff about the workers, like the same thing that Links on the Chain was. Draft Dodger Rag is like the funniest thing ever to listen to.
Yeah.
Amazing fucking comedy to be like, um, I love war, but I ain't gonna be fighting in it. It's like just really funny. That's what I want to hear, is just also like a contrast to that, because like what what they want to hear is that you want to join the war. It's everything that's going on with 60s America, Nixon's America, or just America that was going to fight off through the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Um, the
I
full
don't.
on criticism. And I actually wait, I'm not even sure if it was the Vietnam War, but yeah, just the
No,
full
no, it
on
was.
criticism.
It was at least the
and
Vietnam War at this time.
what the life of an American and the life of Phil Ochs has kind of just been. There's even like a personal song in here that was the president, which is like Phil Ochs's ode to John F. Kennedy, who got shot.
Yeah.
It was yeah. Uh, this kind of just became an unexpected favorite album, not only just by its simplicity, but um it was something that I really liked out of like Greenwich Village folk scene type stuff that I liked about Free Will and Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
It, I don't know why I like this more than a lot of the Bob Dylan albums. It was probably out of just the good songwriting, repetition, and just sheer charm of a performer that Phil Ochs has.
I mean, I'm sure people who went to the Newport Folk Festival would probably agree with you because I mean, yeah, I feel like this feels like a bit more like pure of a sound, pure of a sound for Phil Oaks and just like just
He was young. He was young. He was charming. He was kind of like the typical anarchist guy from the 50s, and he's with base politics and shit.
yeah, for sure, yeah. No, I mean, he is. A lot of the tracks have held up, very well, even, now that we're like, 60 years removed from the time that this was written in. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's a, just, there's still some stuff that's relevant today about, being, be about, being willing to take action and being willing to fight for everybody and treating your human beings as your fellow human beings as human beings and like something that's still lost on some people today is like some people still are trying to create division between other people just because they're different and it's like there's I think that unfortunately we're not in a time where you know Phil Oaks's words have fallen irrelevant because we're all past that, like a lot of the stuff still does certainly ring true.
Yeah, there's like one of the songs there that definitely still just rings true. Days of
Mhm.
Decision is still just kind of like a song that still hasn't erased my mind anytime news happens. I say
Yeah,
this as someone who's like he has to like look at the news because I need to for my course. But
yeah.
um Days of Decision is just really beautiful as well in instrumentation, in lyrics, just everything.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, Phil also wasn't like, wasn't the type of guy to just was also the type of guy to use things that were, sort of, you know, older history at the time to, illustrate his points, when he's talking about like Ballad of the Carpenter, where he's like, trying to use Jesus's status as like, a worker his whole life, to be like, hey, you know, workers are the real heroes of society. We need to have solidarity and the all the heroes of the modern population are always going to come from the working class for the most part. So just that sort of
Yeah.
thing, and also yeah, and also there's some. It's not just like his political commentary. He also has some story songs too, whether that be the the highway robber he talks about on the Highwaymen. or the girl he fell in love with, or just like being super irreverent about his trip through West Virginia on hills of West Virginia, talking about the war heroes and the men behind the guns and everything. So yeah.
For someone who's like surprisingly someone who's just like outside of any American influence, I still really loved I Ain't Marching Anymore despite being disconnected and very much unrelating to the fact of like American context, American history, American culture, all that sort of stuff. It was just really that good. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Some
really,
really
yeah, very, very, very solid album. Very definitely has a classic that isn't really talked about as much as maybe it should be.
exactly. It really is just kind of like an underrated classic of the 60s.
Hmm. I'll start out with my score. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is the third album in a row I've given the score. But I mean, makes sense for a first episode type of thing where we're, you know, already kind of talking about albums we've been enjoying recently. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. Again, yeah, it's just one of those albums that is definitely gonna I'm definitely gonna get reminded of every time some newsworthy event happens, and it's like so obvious that we're still not beyond the times that Phil Ochs was from. So yeah.
So the next album that you gave me,
Yes. um
Willie
so,
Colon.
yeah, so I gave you Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe's Lo Mato. So yeah, so this is a salsa album from the 70s. So Willie Colon came up as a guy in New York City, born to Puerto Rican immigrant parents. Um, and then he was a pretty young talent. He got signed to a label at like 15, and then recorded his first album at 17. And then Hector Lavoe was born himself in Puerto Rico, and then found himself in New York City after moving despite his father's wishes. And then he in New York City he discovered the salsa scene, and quickly established himself as like one of the top vocalists. And yeah, then Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe started working together, and from there, they got some massive success, and they both started to record albums in sort of this like almost like kind of in the way we have outlaw country. They were sort of singing in like this outlaw salsa style, like kind of talking about their you know some kind of like a criminal thing. I mean, I feel like every lots of genres of music have their sort of like criminal fantasy. I mean, obviously, like with gangster rap and everything, that this is sort of like salsa's answer to outlaw country and uh gangster rap. And yeah, so Lo Mato, I think, is the third album they made together. It's not their first, and it's definitely not their last, but it's definitely one of their it's definitely both of them in their primes. And yeah.
Hmm. So what you're saying is like from this album, it is just kind of like about the beginning of their careers, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they would both go on to still do more things like separately. and actually I can go into a bit of the history of why I recommended this to you. I was just randomly scrolling one day and I found a Pitchfork interview with Jordy Griep of Black Midi, and also now
Huh.
his solo album.
The,
Um, yeah, the new sound. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, of Black MIDI fame, of the new sound fame, and he is talking about, since his new album is so salsa influenced, he's talking about, the salsa albums that got him really into the genre, and he mentioned Hector Lavoe, and then I saw that, Lo Mato with Willie Colon was generally considered his best work, so yeah, I decided to recommend it to you.
I think I definitely hear that influence.
Yeah.
It's I'm surprised. It kind of just surprises me that it was definitely it was definitely something that was pulled from the new sound, but at the same time, it's a new sound was also like a bunch of like salsa, a bunch of like samba.
Yeah.
Basically, just do anything to Latin America to and give this white boy some spice. So giving me Lomato with Willie Colon and Tito Puente. I thought it was
No,
Willie Colon
Hector
and
Lavoe.
Hector. Yeah, Hector Lavoe. I don't know why YouTube just gave me Tito Puente, pero I I stepped into my Filipino voice right there. It wasn't a lot to say. It was an album around the 60s, and it specifically a salsa album. It doesn't have a lot of weight or meaning much to hold it, but still the music's like really good, so that means it's still the best thing I've ever heard. I mean, okay, the good when you listen to an album that's like world music-ish, um you don't exactly expect a lot of like it trying to be diverse in sound, diverse in theme, or anything. It is
Mhm.
essentially just the expression of their national identity, and how they would do that with a bunch of like storytelling that the artists themselves would feel is appropriate for the song and all that sort of stuff. And this is just like no exception. Um, there's like some pretty solid storytelling. I really liked the go-to album. I really like
Uh,
Todo Tiene Su Final,
mm,
which is like I can already tell from translation of that. From when I was looking at translations of that, it was like about atomic war. It was in 1973, so it was peak worry. I would imagine.
yeah. I That's funny. I didn't really pick that up, but now that you mention that, like that's totally about it. Like even though they said they have like an atomic demon will come to get you, I'm still like I thought that was just like some sort of poetry they were using, but obviously that's like no, they're talking about
No, they're talking about this.
nuclear war. Yeah.
What, shit, what was the Bay of Pigs thing? I was like 65, 68. I don't know. And I would
Yeah.
think that they would have picked up. Cuba had the missiles, but yeah, it was stuff like that. And then you have like just pretty solid like love songs like La Maria or like I know I can't
Yeah.
think of
And I would
any. La Maria is a bit of like a breakup song, wasn't it? I can't remember what, but yeah,
yeah, there's
it
a
was
bit
a
of
breakup
breakup
or something like
songs.
that.
Um I feel there's also like sort of like an outlaw whole there's still like a sort of outlaw thing to it as well because it's like La Maria or Senora Lola is like, basically him falling in love with a girl who's already committed to another man, and basically like him telling her like, hey, tell your man to let you be with me, or else, I'm gonna come and kill him and everything, like that sort of thing. So it's like, there's still very much like this outlaw aesthetic to the love songs as well. And I mean, it's even shown in the cover. I want to talk about the cover for just like half a second because you know it's the
Yeah, I
cover's
love it.
got I believe it's Willie pointing a gun at this like this older man, and he's like the title literally translates to I'll kill him, and there's a subtitle that says if you don't buy this LP. So just like basically like just threatening anybody who may be in a record store looking at it like, hey, buy this album or else I'm gonna kill this guy. And it's
Yeah.
that's based on this magazine, the a National Lampoon issue where like they they had a picture of someone pointing a gun at a dog and saying, "Buy this issue of the magazine, or we're gonna kill this dog," which I thought was super funny.
I mean, it's definitely like a cool marketing trick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and yeah, I mean, there's also a great sense of humor in this album too. That Willie and Hector don't really take themselves too seriously, even though they're still making some of the most popular salsa music at the time.
Out of just curiosity, and I guess I'm not exactly looking for an expert opinion on this one, but I think you might have some at least knowledge of it when you're studying Spanish at least. What do you think is salsa music for, or what is it about usually?
Hmm.
Is it like music usually?
I mean, I think at the time it was especially used for like dancing and everything. I mean, like lots of music that came from Spanish scene. You know, it, that came out of like Latin America, Spanish speaking communities. Was typically meant for dancing, but also at this time, there wasn't like a specific form to it. I mean, I believe it's called like salsa dura because it's like very much still like in its still much very much in like it's people were still kind of experimenting with what it could be used for. And I mean, yeah, on this album, Willie and Hector are like mainly using the genre to yeah, you do some storytelling as well as make some grooves that are very danceable and everything. So yeah,
Okay, so okay, I see. They also just try to like bring an aesthetic, especially like this gangster, Western type stuff, which is cool. It's
yeah,
really great. There's like there's like songs and there's like a lot of things that you could dig in through Mato with this one, and it especially just kind of gives stuff this vibe of yeah, just some gangster stuff. Just,
yeah,
it's
for
very
sure.
it's very I would say it's very gangster to like have this album and like I don't know what else to say. Like, I really like Señora Lola, Todo tiene su final. I really like Calle Luna, Calle Sol. That one's like really catchy, alongside with El Día de mi Suerte.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's it.
I
It was
mean,
like, honestly, it's kind of surprising that it's just an 8 song album. It was just kind of pretty quick, one and done with it. But, it's like a really amazing, like, salsa journey, you know?
yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's yeah, it's 37 minutes, but it's still it just like very like every song, no song really overstays its welcome, except for maybe like Junio 73, maybe I think that one, because it's just kind of like the 8 minute instrumental song, but even then it's still kind of like almost like an interlude on the album separating the two halves. So, like
True, 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 true.
even then it's still just like, very much yeah, just every song has like a really cool idea, either lyrically or musically, and just gets you through it. I mean, most of the time it's both lyrically and musically, um, but yeah, it gets you through it super quickly, and at the end of the day,
Mm.
you're just like still like, you don't realize like how much how addictive those songs were until it's like they're stuck in your head 10 times a day. Because I mean, I know I've been annoying my boyfriend and all the people around me with with that like playing El Dia de Mi Suerte all the time. It's already been, I've already played it for everybody at work, just like just over the speakers while I make pizza and everything. So it's a it's just a great
Pizza.
album it's yeah, it's just a great album to really have in the background, and it's also just a great album to listen to directly as well. There's real I really don't have too many complaints with it. I think this was for sure, and I hadn't heard any of the albums, even the ones I recommended to you beforehand. So this was, you know, each album was a new discovery, and I think this was my favorite discovery of the past week.
I'm glad that you really like having to discover Mato.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I gave it a 9 out of 10 on my rate your music.
I don't think I gave it a rating yet, but that might kind of sound offensive a little bit. But in between, like I would say seven or eight. I'm just kind of like picking between those two
Yeah. I
for
mean,
this album.
don't be
No,
afraid to say anything, like say that it's negative, because I mean it's an album, you know I don't know. We're
an
gonna have
album I don't
our
enjoy a
differing
lot, but
opinion.
I really love the songs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, still, I
So,
mean, I'm glad I was still able to put you onto it and get to talk about it today.
no, yeah, definitely. It was definitely fun getting through that, and like having to talk about it as well with someone is definitely like helping me with like trying to get my thoughts out. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's definitely a really
So,
great exercise to try.
hmm so
Okay,
that's all the albums we
now
have for this week. So if we want to get into our recommendations for the next episode.
this surprises me that you haven't listened to this one yet. Hyper Youth by Joey Valence and Bray.
Oh, yeah, I have not listened to that one yet, which is funny because I did listen
What?
to No Hands, and I just never ended up listening to Hyper Youth. Um,
I am gonna make that right now.
all right. As for my one, I'm gonna recommend to you. This is an album that just came out today. And I kind of forgot that they were putting out a new album, considering that one of the members of this group just died, and I'm very interested in seeing where they go from here. I'm going to recommend "Cabin in the Sky" by De La Soul.
Oh yeah, I still haven't listened to that one yet.
Yeah, that one just came out.
Yeah, that's gonna come out this week.
Yeah, it just came out today.
Okay, so I guess we're both listening to hip hop, right?
Yep.
Uh,
And
all
then
right, that's sick.
did you have an
Hold
older
on,
album that you were gonna recommend?
I'm prepared for this one. Also, kind of somewhat surprised a little bit that you hadn't reached this one yet. Also, kind of not really. Okay, so for the classic album, the old album, recommendation, I'm just gonna give you Mama's Gun by Erica Badu.
Oh, shoot, that's actually great because I've been wanting to listen to that for so long. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm happy you recommended that to me. All right. For my
Yeah.
old for my older album, I'm gonna go with one that I've also been interested in for a long time. That's gonna be Bocanada by Gustavo Cerati. So
Fucking hell. Okay.
we're
Okay,
we're
James.
we're going back into the Spanish. We're pulling back from the Spanish language albums. So
For that one, I would have just recommended D'Angelo. But yeah. Um